state Supreme Court puts the abortion amendment on the Michigan ballot. The new COVID booster is out as we enter yet another new phase of the virus. And the new edition of the Auto Show rolls into town with not a snowstorm in sight. Today is Sunday, September 11, 2022, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. Boy, what a week of news. Of course, we come to you this morning on the first Sunday in 70 years without Queen Elizabeth II presiding over the United Kingdom. In our ever-changing world, she was a singular model of stability and steadfastness. Even those cynical about the monarchy would have to grant her that. About the time we were delivering that news on Thursday, word came from the state Supreme Court that the abortion amendment proposal will indeed be on the ballot in November. And that is a huge, if not at all surprising development, because the poll that we released in partnership with the Detroit News last week shows us that abortion has replaced the economy now as the #1 issue for voters heading into the midterms. We're going to talk about that this morning. We're also going to talk about where we are on the COVID journey. The new Omicron-fighting booster is now out, even as many people have seemingly moved on from pandemic precautions, and yet we're still losing around 10 Michiganders a day to COVID. Now, that's not near where we were, of course, but how do we now arrange our lives for this fall when many expect COVID to surge? We're going to talk about that too. And this week we get the new edition of the North American International Auto Show. It is back after 2 missed years due to COVID, but this year it's more than that. It's September instead of January. But what else does the show need to be to survive in the new world of mobility? It's all today on Flashpoint. All right, let's start this morning with the political developments of the week. We, along with the Detroit News, put out the results of a new poll. We had the decisions on the abortion amendment as well as a voting access proposal. So let's get caught up with Nolan, Finley, Editorial Page Editor of the Detroit News, and so very glad to welcome back to her seat on the program, Portia Roberson, CEO of Focus Hope, who had just a little dalliance with politics herself.
Just a little dalliance, and I'm happy to be back in the right position for me.
It's really good to have you back. In fact, good to have you both here. I want to start, I guess, with our poll this week that we did in conjunction with the Detroit News. What were your big takeaways from what we found?
Well, I think the takeaway from that poll is at least, well, for all three races, I think it's gone for Republicans. I don't see at this point, given the fact
the
that...
main statewide races, you mean?
Statewide races, yeah. I think, at this point, given the amount of resources these three candidates have on hand, there's no way to close the gaps you're seeing. It was, 13 in the governor's race, 11 in the Secretary of State's race.
6 in the Attorney General's race, which is fairly close.
It is, but that speaks, I think, to the nature of the Democratic candidate more than the Republican candidate. DePerno can't close that gap. Nobody's giving him money. Nobody's giving Caramo money. And Dixon, who I thought had a chance to raise some money, apparently doesn't have any.
It was pointed out to me by our pollster, Richard Zuba, that the amount of money that Gretchen Whitmer has, meanwhile, she could spend $200,000 a day from now until Election Day.
And will.
and probably will. The other thing that was really hard to miss, Portia, and a lot of us, I think, expected this would eventually happen, but it went from everybody saying that, I think it was in June and May, our last poll, everyone said that their #1 concern was the economy. It's been now replaced by abortion and women's rights.
And I think that was obvious from the get-go, and I think Republicans dropped the ball on not realizing that was going to be such an important issue. I'm thrilled that they picked the candidates they did, but they really had an opportunity there, I think, to nominate some candidates who probably could have given more of a run to our Attorney General and our Secretary of State, perhaps even our governor, than they did. I certainly came out of this thinking, after looking at the Republican convention, thinking maybe there would be more of a race, as Nolan said, but it looks like it's pretty done at this point, and it's really early to think that it's done.
And money, we all hate the fact that money is such a lifeblood of politics, but it is what it is. Really interesting turnabout for Tudor Dixon on Twitter this past week after the decision to put the abortion proposal on the ballot. She said you can still vote for abortion and against the current governor. That's a really interesting bit of change.
Because most people who are voting around the abortion issue and voting and supporting Gretchen Whitmer know that Gretchen Whitmer is going to be a strong advocate to make sure that these reproductive rights are secured, not just right now, but in the future going forward. So obviously, those of us who find it very important to have the right to choose really look at who's going to support that long haul, not just who's going to, I want to vote for Tudor Dixon because I think she's great. I guess she said, like, you can vote against Gretchen and against her stance. Well, this is part of her stance, and so you're not going to separate the two from one another. But she's not alone. There are a lot of Republican candidates now who didn't look at the messaging early on and who are now trying to back away from their stance on abortion because they realize that the American people didn't want this to begin with.
Really interesting, Nolan. The Republicans got what they wanted in the overturn of Roe versus Wade, but the backlash is heavy.
And Democrats should be sending cookie bouquets to the Supreme Court because that saved their cookies in this in this election. Dixon boxed herself in the primary with her messaging on abortion, total ban, no exceptions. That's not in line with where Michigan people stand or Michigan values on the issue. Now, other Republican candidates elsewhere have managed to nuance the message. Out in Washington State, the woman running against Patty Murray in the Senate race says, look, she's an OBGYN nurse. She said, I've worked with women all my career. I'm very pro-life, but I don't support a ban on abortion. Tudor Dixon now, if she had the money to get a message out, should be running ads noting the very extreme nature of this ballot proposal that Whitmer and other Democrats on the ballot support. That might resonate. Or she can simply say, look, I have this position, but I will work with the legislature to come up with a compromise, with a law that is suitable for Michigan. I think that would have calmed the waters, but she did none of those things.
You were ringing the alarm bells as you watched the Republican conventions in the state, but aren't you surprised at the inability to raise any money?
No. I mean, when you call your donor base names, rhinos, when you say you're not welcome in the party, you're the problem. I mean, the richest Republicans have all been demonized by these folks who control the party now. Why would you get out your check? Now, what you are seeing is those donors who aren't given to the Republican Party and aren't given in the statewide races are supporting legislative and congressional candidates, and they should do a lot better.
And now we start to wonder what this does down the ticket and what happens with a lot of legislative races, with congressional races. There's an interesting tone that is being set, but does it necessarily carry over down ticket, Portia? I
don't think it's going to hurt Democrats down ticket. I think that there is going to be some money that's spread out to try and help some of those Republicans. But again, you look at Alyssa Slotkin and Barrett's race. She, of course, is middle of the road. She's taken some positions. She's shown that she's worked with both parties. That's one of the things she's run on previously, running on that again. Barrett, on the other hand, is, again, one of those ones backing away from his feelings on abortion. It came out, he scrubbed his website, so it wouldn't really be as staunch as it was beforehand. And I think the question you're going to have for some of these candidates who are trying to back away from it is, are you a flip-flopper already? How can we count on you when you get elected, or if you should get elected, to not change your position later on?
Just a couple of seconds left. What do you expect it to mean down ticket?
Well, I do think that the money is coming in from the donor base for those down ticket races. And when you get into those races, I think there's a lot more conversation with voters about the economic misery they're going through. And that's not going to ease up between now and November.
You mentioned the Slotkin-Barrett race. Happy to say somebody's willing to debate, and they will be debating here on Flashpoint coming up 2 weeks from today. Thank you both. And so good to have you back, Portia.
Thank you.
Really
good to
appreciate
be back.
it. Thanks, Nolan.
Thanks.
We come back. We will talk about where we stand on the COVID cycle. There's a new booster out. Are you rushing to get it? This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
Join Planet Fitness today and get more epic energy and better sleep with tons of equipment in our clean and spacious clubs. Join for $1 down, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends Wednesday, September 14th.
A Cadillac is more than a statement. It's a celebration of self-expression and a declaration of your independence. So choose to be bold and choose to be exactly who you are.
GM employees and eligible family members with a current eligible GM lease. Get this low mileage lease on this 2023 Cadillac XT6 for $469 per month.
Join Planet Fitness today and get more epic energy and better sleep with tons of equipment in our clean and spacious clubs. Join for $1 down, $10 a month, cancel anytime. Deal ends Wednesday, September 14th.
Think as if it were you on the other side.
If I see something good around the country, we're adopting it.
It's hard.
We are really, really close to a tipping point.
That is astronomically insane.
Solutionaries, the creative thinkers and doers working to make the world a better place. Subscribe at youtube.com/solutionaries.
Welcome back. There is a new COVID booster now available. I'm not sure I'm getting the sense people are rushing to get it. In fact, I was the only one there for mine on Thursday. Where are we on the COVID spectrum? I have asked that question before, and once again, I'm asking it of Dr. James Baker, the Ruth Dowdone professor and immunologist from the University of Michigan. Doc, good to have you back on the program again.
Good to be here.
Well, it's a really interesting time now, isn't it? We're watching, obviously people have decided, many of them are kind of done with boosters, done with precautions, throwing a little bit of, and that's, I guess, to some degree okay because it's not as dangerous a virus anymore, right?
Well, I think what's defined, and the good news is we've gone from a pandemic situation to an endemic situation where the virus is part of our environment and we need to live with it. And it's very similar to influenza or flu in that the virus is there, it mutates, it changes, but if you have enough background immunity, then you're protected. And I think from everything we're hearing, the boosters are now going to be a yearly event, much like influenza shots. And I think people will have a clear idea of what they need to do.
We said from the very beginning the natural course of viruses was to become more communicable, less deadly. That's largely where we are then.
Yes, and I think the background immunity, not just from the vaccines, but also from the infections, has really left the population much less at risk than it was.
Well, that's good. But when we get the updates every week, and I sort of roll my eyes a little bit when we look at the case numbers because they're a vast undercount because nobody is having them officially taken anymore or calling their doctor if they test positive. But we are still losing about 10 people a day in Michigan to the virus.
Yes, and those people probably would have been, folks with prior conditions who would be at risk if they got the flu or any other type of infection. So, in fact, truly endemic doesn't mean it's going away, but it does mean that we need to deal with it more as a chronic threat.
Yeah. Now, if we are going to start comparing it to flu, then that means that we would typically see a surge as we get into the autumn and then into the winter. We expect that again with COVID, right?
Yes, although it's not entirely clear. I mean, COVID has been unusual in that sometimes it hasn't followed seasonal exacerbations. The Delta wave a year ago was in August, well before people anticipated a fall wave. So I think we don't know yet, but we're, again, planning based on influenza, so we're looking at boosters now through October and November to try and prepare people for a potential fall wave when everyone goes back indoors.
This new booster is, it seems, a little different. It is more designed to handle Omicron. My doctor recommended that I get it, but I'm not sure that, and some people, I think I mentioned, are tired of boosters, but I guess there is a difference in this booster versus what we had, which has now been withdrawn. You can't even get the old booster, right?
Well, it's very confusing, so let me try and go through this. First off, your base vaccines, the first and second shot you get, have not been changed. They're still the same old vaccines. The real key is the booster, and what they did was take the RNA or the coding sequence for the protein, for the spike protein from the virus, add in RNA from new Omicron-like viruses so that you had protection against more than one variant of SARS-CoV-2, the COVID virus. So in fact, this now has 3 different coding sequences for the original virus, Omicron 4 and Omicron 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we could talk about this in a minute because people have been concerned that this hasn't been tested in people, quote unquote. But I think it's a very similar situation to the yearly flu vaccines.
There was a criticism that this last booster was rushed, that it's been only really tested on mice.
Yes. Well, the good thing is that the vaccine is not inherently different. The RNA and the other vehicles in the vaccine are the same. So safety really shouldn't be different. The real question, as it is with the flu vaccine every year, is have we guessed right? Do we have the sequences in there that will provide us protection not against the viruses we've already seen, but the ones that are coming, the new mutants? And that's something that they tried to be very effective with, because they can change the RNA sequence immediately once they have the sequence of the virus done.
Yeah.
They added new ones that they hadn't tested. Now, they've tested the Omicron, the original Omicron booster, and that looked very good in people and produced an immune response to these more recent variants. But they tried to make it perfect by going with the more recent variants and didn't have time to test it. I think the safety is fine, but the efficacy, as always, is a guess.
We'll see.
Yes.
So I should feel like one of the mice for a little while.
I think you'd be an excellent candidate.
Thank you. The other thing, though, we know that the other natural course of this thing has been to continually mutate. So far, the mutations have been toward things that have not been, at least with Omicron, have been toward less lethal. Is there a chance that this thing mutates in a more dangerous way?
There's always a chance with that, and we need to be aware. We need to keep up our public health surveillance because that's really what tells us the virus has changed. By looking at the sequences of the virus, we can now get that from wastewater. And by looking at deaths and serious illnesses as they pop up, we can get an idea if there's been a change. And at that point, we can put in restrictions. Nobody wants them, but if it's truly a deadly virus again, then we could take action.
Dr. Baker, as always, I so appreciate your walking me through where we are. Thanks.
Thank you.
You bet. We come back, we'll get you set for the new edition of the Detroit Auto Show. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
This is a Gardner White exclusive offer. Get the largest price rollbacks on Serta ever. Every mattress is priced to sell with rollbacks up to an extra $1,000 off the sale price. Like this Serta Perfect Sleeper. Price cut and price cut again. Just $7.99 with free gifts. We make it easy with 0% financing up to 60 months and free same-day delivery. Do not miss out on this limited time savings opportunity. One more reason why. Gardner White is Detroit's #1 mattress store.
Ann Arbor Spark is an economic development organization whose mission is to bring prosperity to the Ann Arbor region. We support companies and emerging startups, everything from small pre-revenue companies all the way up to household names that you probably know. And we have all types of services that are unique in the United States to help our companies grow quickly and become successful.
To learn more about Ann Arbor Spark, visit annarborusa.org.
We were just spinning. We just didn't know what was going to happen next.
At Samasco Law, we deal with these issues every day, especially elder law. Pat went to work for Fran.
Patrick was there holding my hand, kept saying, "We'll get through this, we'll get through this."
He got her husband Medicaid and in a nursing home. Samasco Law got the success they deserved.
Samasco Law is definitely family to me. I really appreciate knowing all of you.
Rely on the Trust Index, your first line of defense against disinformation. Just look for the seal. It's true means it passed the test and we can back it up. Not true means it's fake. Don't trust it. And be careful means it's not entirely right or wrong, but could be risky. The Trust Index, only on Local 4 and click on Detroit.
The world's auto press is arriving in the Motor City this week. The charity preview comes along Friday, and then the new North American International Auto Show opens to the public. But this is September. much of the action is going to be outside. What a concept. It's very different. Let's talk about it with Michelle Krebs, executive analyst for Cox Automotive, and John McElroy from Autoline. Guys, good to have you back on the program. I don't want to over-dramatize this, and I'll let you both talk me out of this. But this, given the new reality and the new auto world, the new world of mobility we live in, this feels to me like an existential moment for the Detroit Auto Show, that they need to kind of get this right, or maybe it's all something whose time has passed. I don't know. John, let me start with you. Am I right?
You're absolutely right, but I got to add that this is true of all auto shows, not just the Detroit Auto Show.
Yes.
They're all going through this tremendous upheaval, which actually started before the COVID pandemic hit. But you're right. I mean, from a media day standpoint, it's a shadow of its former self, although there's some pretty important things coming there. But where the real test is going to be on the public days. How much of the public actually turns out? You know, because when it's January, they have a captive audience. People don't even go outside to smoke a cigarette in January. So in September, you know, football season has started. Kids are back to school. The weather's still beautiful, by the way. So we'll see if they can get, you know, a decent crowd. It doesn't have to be back to where it was before. A decent crowd, and they can call this a success.
Michelle, same question. Detroit Auto Show kind of fighting for its life this year?
Well, I agree with John. This is all auto shows are reinventing themselves, but I think it almost mirrors what's happening in the auto industry. We're in this reinvention, transformational time, and nobody really knows how it's going to all turn out. And I think, you know, the big question is, will the consumer show? I think we've gotten over that it isn't just a media show anymore, but the focus is on consumers, and one of the reasons all northern cities have their auto shows in the winter is because they have that captive audience. There isn't that much else to do, but September in Michigan, there are a lot of things to do.
And they're trying to make this a much more interactive experience. People can actually get out and drive vehicles. What an idea when we're talking about an auto show. That part of this, John, seems to be kind of built for a much more engaging experience.
Yeah, and again, you know, it comes back to what I said before. Auto shows have got to pivot away from the media, like Michelle was just talking about, and go to the public. The public is still enthralled by these auto shows. And with a ride and drive opportunity, this could be a real learning experience for the public to get to know about electric cars. There's a lot of interest. There's a lot of skepticism. One way to really decide where you fall on that argument, get out and kick the tires. Go take one for a drive. And if they offer that, it could be a real success.
Yeah, especially for so many people who have never had an opportunity to drive an electric vehicle and have wanted to. We've heard that time and again. But Michelle, this is really interesting. This show falls on the shoulders of the Detroit auto dealers, and yet we're speaking of existential moments. If you're an auto dealer right now and you're watching more and more people buying vehicles online, no haggle pricing, on and on and on, vehicles that don't need as much service, if you're talking about an EV, this is a really interesting moment to be in the auto dealing business, too.
Oh, absolutely. But I would note auto dealers are making record profits. They did last year. They are expected to this year because inventory shortages have driven. There's high demand and high prices. So they're making really good money right now. But like auto shows, like the automakers, they're in a transformational moment as well. I mean, there will be. Buick announced last week they're going to offer buyouts to dealers who don't want to go all electric. And so we're going to see dealers make decisions. Do they want to go with this new future? Maybe time to get out of the business.
Yeah. Let me ask you both about what you're most looking forward to. We don't have, John, as you mentioned, not near as many reveals as we had once upon a time. We are getting a brand new gas-powered Mustang, which is always reaches a fair amount of excitement in a town like Detroit. But give me what it is you're most eager to see, whether it's experiential or a vehicle.
Well, you know, you just hit on the highlight, the Mustang. I mean, that's going to bring in the crowds. It's going to bring in every Mustang fanatic to the show, that's for sure. Cadillac's going to have this new electric experience. I wish they were showing the Celestiq. This is going to be their, I'm guessing, $375,000 hand-built car. I'm not sure they're going to show that. Jeep's got some interesting electrics. Chrysler brand is going to be showing some things. Same with Toyota. But I want to go see those passenger drones, Devin. I'm very interested in what they call VTOLs, vertical takeoff or landing craft, which is an amazing thing to have as part of the auto show.
It really is an interesting evolution point, no doubt about it. Michelle, how about you? What are you looking forward to most here?
Well, there's the fanciful like that, but there's also a vehicle I'm very interested in is the Chevy Equinox EV. GM says it's going to cost around $30,000, and that is going to be so significant because the biggest problem blocking EV sales is the affordability. And so I'm kind of interested in seeing how the public reacts to that.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to do is I want to let you both weigh in on Michigan's role in this new auto world. We keep talking about new plants, new vehicles. We also keep talking about layoffs of a lot of people. We talk about increases in prices that just happen to match the amount of a subsidy given, say, on an EV. Give me the outlook from your perspective here, John, particularly for Michigan.
Look, we're in the game right now, very much so. In fact, it's very interesting to me to see Southeast Michigan emerging as sort of an incubator for startups. So it's not just Silicon Valley, it's not just Boston and some of the other places. It's happening in Detroit as well. But this is the make it or break it decade to see whether the Detroit 3 can really pivot, not just to electric, autonomy, connected, shared, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, they're in the game right now, but it's early innings. We'll know a whole lot more in just a few years.
Michelle, I got about 30 seconds left. How about you?
Well, certainly Michigan is a centerpiece of it. But I think what will be interesting to watch is this tightrope of keeping the old vehicles going, and that's where the money is so that they can finance this new future.
Yeah. You guys, thanks so much for the walkthrough. We'll look forward to seeing the show with you and through you as we head into a new era for Detroit. Thanks so much. Before we go, I want to tell you, sudden cardiac arrest can happen in an instant. You know that. Would you know what to do if someone needed life-saving help? All day Tuesday, live hands-only CPR training in every newscast on Local 4 starting at 6 a.m. Online resources at clickondetroit.com. Have a great week. Meet the Press is next. We'll see you next time for Flashpoint.